Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in the next webinar in our educational series with Nogalis. Today's presentation will be a session on Lawson implementing requisition approval. This session is being recorded with video and will be available for you to download later. We will go through this quickly, so if you missed something, you can go back to our site at nogalis.com under the Education section and review the video again. We will also make this presentation available to you for download. Please hold questions until the end, and you can type them into your chat box on the left-hand side. So today we will cover why build a requisition approval flow, required resources for the project, approach recommendations and options, and then post-implementation. So first, why build a requisition flow? Most clients implement it in order to increase efficiency and for auditing purpose. Some get further into it and use it for tracking projects, budgeting, and commitments to those projects. Reporting that is delivered with the current product is light, but there are good reporting tools that you can use, and notifications can be sent from within Process Flow and LVI products. Keep in mind the scope of what you will include in the process, such as whether and how IT, facilities, and capital items will be included, and we'll talk about those in a little bit more detail. Required resources. You will need representatives from several departments. You'll also need regular project staff, just as with any other software project, including a sponsor project manager. Clients typically only use two tools, IPA and Design Studio. IPA is Process Flow. It's the workflow product that handles the routing, approval, and monitoring. Design Studio is used to create custom XML forms, typically used in the requisition approvals to create a custom in-basket. In-baskets are used by approvers to view and approve requisitions. So here are some approaches that we have seen. Some are good, some are bad. So the first one, listing inputs and outputs and map to each one, that is a good approach. Modeling current and proposed or to-be process. Note that in your modeling, it implies that you're using metrics for each of the steps. Good, but it's a bit costly. Mapping out the perfect world, obviously good. Other options including cross-training and group development, which are really considered bad. Partnerships are when the customer, such as procurement, and the developer sit elbow to elbow. This is found to take more time, results in lower quality documentation or less documentation. Another option of training the procurement team in the BPM tools. This can lead to bad codes, they call it spaghetti code, or bugs, and it can be difficult and costly to maintain. Training developers in the procurement applications has also been tried. This can lead to assumptions. The developers think they know a process and develop around that. So the approach recommendation is really a mixture of the good approaches. List and map all inputs, such as facilities, IT items, capital requests, expense. Be aware of shortcomings in the current process. Model the to-be process. That includes whiteboarding of the routing of a single item. And then, as we said, you can model the result and estimate efficiency. So for the approach, work with your project management office to discuss the project requirements, what your organization requires in order to do a project and the required artifacts. A charter should clearly state the business issue and what the project is meant to resolve for that business issue. In other words, what is it that we can't do, that we should have, or that we have to do in order to accomplish what we need to do during the day. Decide where to place the project artifacts, such as a document management system or other place. Please, one recommendation is to not use email to track project decisions and artifacts. List roles and responsibilities. It's easiest to do this in the planning phase, and it will help when a project decision must be made. Have a single contact for each department, one from AP, procurement, and finance, who can coordinate to make decisions on that department's behalf. Discuss doing a customer satisfaction survey beforehand. Have users in procurement, IT, discuss the business issues with the current process. Ask procurement owners and stakeholders for their vision. Keep it system agnostic, such as, meaning leave the word Lawson out of the conversation. If this is detailed enough, portions of it may be able to serve as requirements. During that discussion, discuss lessons learned in previous projects and make sure to check back to this list during your implementation. So in your approach, list the inputs. For example, list all unique item types. A unique item type is an item that has a single type of routing, follows the same routing path. This could include capital items, is one unique item type, inventory items, office supplies, facilities. Name as many as you can for now in that listing. So just name them all and then consolidate that grouping once you see commonalities on how they're all processed. Next, list the roles. For example, a capital approver, a backup approver if someone is out on vacation, a buyer, a supervisor. And then finally, indicate the method of their involvement. Do you want that person to be one of three roles? An approver, a receiver of notifications when something occurs, or they're able to see into the process by running a report. So for the approach, the start here, map out the current process for an item and then modify that drawing to increase efficiency. A large whiteboard really works best, especially if some processes are unclear or if there are a lot of assumptions. If you focus on the current process, it will add time and expense. Many organizations do not want to document a process that's being replaced, however, some do. Include roles, but never use named employees. It may be that in practice, there will be several roles done by only one person, but that should not be documented here. Doing it this way will accommodate growth, mergers and acquisitions, and turnover. Label each part of the process, such as each requirement, as high, medium, and low priority, or high, medium, and low priority. It seems like a contradiction since all requirements are required, so there really is no high, medium, low, but this is a project management best practice to control costs, especially when you're getting near the go live and items will have to be left off. Define high, medium, low. For example, high means critical to the project's success, so omission would mean project failure, such as you must have a backup approver functionality in case an approver is on vacation. Medium is an item that will increase efficiency but can cut out if budget and time do not permit, such as a custom in-basket that shows all detail in one page. Low priority items do not contribute to efficiency or do so with little value. Draw out an in-basket. Use a whiteboard, a piece of paper, a Visio, Microsoft Word, even a napkin, but get the approver's input on what they need to see in order to approve the rec. Get that vision of the in-basket. An in-basket can be a complex set of objects that will be reused, or it can be a simple copy of a form such as RQ10 or RQ44. Write a design document. Have the design approved by the stakeholders. Write test cases. Build a first iteration. And this can be a walkthrough approvals for one item, but more typically the entire flow is built and tested in the first iteration. During the build, make sure to include documentation within every node in process flow, or at least in most of the nodes. This will help when supporting it. Build and test, and write help documentation, including troubleshooting documents. Use pictures in the help text with arrows. It's better than verbiage. And you'll probably want to include this in the help text within the application so a user can get to it by just clicking help. In the post-implementation, discuss lessons learned. Make sure to end the project with a lessons learned meeting. What worked well? What would we change if we had to do over again? How should the charter have been written? And what would be useful in the next project? And then benchmark progress after the implementation. Report on transaction volume and approval times. Conduct a follow-up customer satisfaction webinar. Finally, in the post-implementation of a previous project, consider those lessons learned at the start of your requisition approval process. That's always a good stop, is to start with lessons learned. This concludes our presentation on implementing requisition approvals. Our next webinar will be on process flow on September 26th. I'll stop the recording and we'll go to questions.